Okay, if we start off by saying that venture capitalists have no problem with women entrepreneurs, there's no problem. So if there's no problem, why is it the funding's not getting to them? Only 5 to 13% of venture capital goes to women-led businesses in the US. Why? Well, maybe the fact that only 5% of venture capitalists are women has something to do with it. 95% of the guys are the ones with the money in their wallets. What about business angels? In the US, again, we're talking about 19.6% of business angels are women. There's a lot of high net worth women, but what do? They tend to do philanthropy. They like to do the philanthropy piece, but they're not getting involved in the women, in the business side of thing. And so that is a problem. The other problem, like for example in the UK, do you know what percentage of business angels there are women in the UK? Give us a figure. 10? 5. So there is a problem with this pattern recognition if the people who are making the decisions when it comes to money are not seeing people who look like them. But don't just take my word for it. There's actually a lot of really good research behind this. So in Stanford, there's the Clayton Gender Institute who've actually done some research to see, with venture capitalists, to see if you have a man and a woman, and both have similar backgrounds, and they're in charge of a tech company, is there a bias or not? And there is, because they want to go towards the guys. The other problem is, I don't know if you've heard about this. This came out very recently with Harvard and MIT. What they did was a very objective study where they got an executive summary and the investor pack of slides for a company, for a tech company. And they had a voiceover, the exact same slides, and they had a voiceover. One voiceover was with a man's voice, one voiceover was with a woman's voice. Both were sent to a separate group of venture capitalists. And guess what? The exact same information, the same virtual company, you don't meet the people, but it's just on the paper. The guys got 30 to 40% more investment, just because it had a male voice on the voiceover. So when people say to me, when venture capitalists and business angels say, I'm not biased, it's not true. And I don't want to be hard, because actually a lot of the time it's unconscious. It's not like they're going out to say, I'm getting out to get the women, I'm not going to invest. That's not it. However, it does come into play. Financial institutions. So, sorry, business angels, I want to talk a little bit about that. I interviewed a couple of business angels in the UK, and one gentleman in particular, and I asked him, I said, do you see any differences between men and women when they're pitching for funding? And he said, no, I mean, I think they're both great. No problem. I said, great. I said, well, how many investments did you make last year? And he said, well, I've invested in 12 companies. I said, brilliant. I said, and how many of them are women-led? And guess how many he said? And he actually got shocked by my question. He didn't realize it. He said, I hadn't even thought about it. And actually, it is a problem because we don't have enough data. We don't have enough counting of how many deals are going to men and women. We're starting to do it, but the data is only starting from 2004 onwards. So a big issue is actually to count and look at all the deals that are going through. And then financial institutions. So these are the banks and so on. I love this. Professor Linda Scott, who is Professor of Entrepreneurship at Oxford, Said Business School, she does a lot of work with Walmart on women's economic empowerment. And she was talking to some of the banks, and one of the banks said, oh, Linda, I'm so excited. I have a financial product for women. I'm really excited. I can't wait to show it to you. And she says, great, what is it? And he produced this credit card with a mirror on it. And he was really excited because he really thought he had done something that was going to help women. This is a true story. So there's a lot of work to be done. And actually, when it comes to the financial institutions, what's happening is the people giving the loans, looking at the files, tend to be mainly men. So they will bring in some gender bias unconsciously when they're looking at them and when they're talking to the women owners. And the way women set up business, the way we ask for capital is different. So, there needs to be some work done on that. And I said the women entrepreneurs themselves, we are a blocker to ourselves. It is linked about, we need to have more confidence about asking more money. I did it myself for my company in France. There was this government aid, And what was interesting was I was listening to the stories of all these amazing women entrepreneurs who'd raised loads of money, up to 13 million in their seed round and their Series A. And I went to this place and they said, okay, this government agency, and they said, right. I said, how much do women usually ask for this particular loan? It's a loan to the founder. And they said around 10,000 euros. I said, all right, interesting. But when I was listening to all these women, I said, hold on a second, Anne, you're not going for 10,000. You have to find out what's the maximum. So I went back and I asked him, what's the maximum you can get? He told me 20,000. I said, right, I'm going for that. And I got it. I was damn sure I wasn't going to let that, my own bias in my head, affect me. So there is a lot of work for us to do as well on our own level of confidence and bias in our head. Now, have you heard this myth? Women are more risk-averse than men. They don't like risk. Well, actually, it's not true. What happens is that when we talk about that, in the economic press, in the financial press, in the science press, who are writing the articles? Who? Majority men. And actually, this is very interesting research from this professor. She's an economist, so she's not a silly person. This is an economist who deals in data. And she has done a survey of the 24 really good articles around risk aversion. So we're measuring how men and women play games, do different types of things. And what she found is that the actual the difference between men and women was less than 1 standard deviation. That's nothing. And actually, when she overlapped the bell curves, I spared you the bell curves because I'm not a statistician. When she overlapped the bell curves, there was 80% commonality between men and women in the way we make decisions about risk. So when we think that women are risk averse, it's just not true. It's a perception that we need to really change. Now, it doesn't mean that we're not cautious, that we make decisions in a certain way on how we spend our money and how we look for money. But that's different from being totally scared of the fact. So what's the other risk? And I chose that picture because I think, for me, it's a man and a woman jumping off together, right? So that's the way I'm looking at it. What's the second myth that we need to bust? That investing in women-led businesses yields a lower return. I'm not going to make money if I invest in a woman-led business. Actually, that's not true. I'm glad to see you have the statistic there on the banner from the Silicon Republic. So that's part of the research that actually proves that when you invest in a women-led business, more often than not, you will get a higher return. And this has been proven by the Small Business Association in the USA, by the Kaufman Foundation. And what they found is, as you could see on the thing, when it comes to high tech, because that's our topic here, that women-led businesses in high tech yielded 35% higher return on investment and 12% higher revenue. Now, why is that happening? It's actually because of the other thing, which is the bias. Like, where the investors will look at things in a certain way. It means that when they are checking women-led businesses, they really push on the due diligence. So the ones who are successful are really successful. So they do their homework. And actually what we found as well, when it comes to venture capitalists, again, in the USA, is that those who invest in women-led firms do better, and their whole portfolio does better than if it's an all-male. But we don't know about it. That's why I want to spread that news, actually. The more we say it in the press, the better. So, the burning question, where is the money? Now, I'm going to focus on the US because that's where the key part of the world of the money is. So where are the conditions that are most favorable for high-growth women entrepreneurs? Because that's what we want, more businesses that are really going to grow and expand. And if we look at the colour map, this is from Dell, who do a global index of countries in the world. Now, there are 30 countries. Ireland's not there yet. I say yet, we have to push to get them up there. But basically, those that are in green are places, you can see it's North America, Scandinavia, and Australia. That's where they have the most favourable conditions. And they're looking at different things. They're looking at childcare, they're looking at the ecosystem, they're looking at everything together, tax, all of that together. Where are places more favourable? But watch Asia. Asia is a rising power also when it comes to funding. We kind of forget them, but we can't. Because this is a very interesting research by Ernst & Young. They do the Global 20, the G20, on where is it easiest to access funding in the world. And this is very interesting. So it is the G20, that's why we're not there. Yes, we will become a G20, 20-something. But look at where where easy it is access to money. US, UK, we're kind of used to seeing that, but look at China. China is really making leaps and bounds when it comes to VC and business angel capital. EU, so we'll be lumped into EU at number 12, and France, where my company is based at the moment. God, look at that, only 16th in the total ranking of 20 where it's easy to get the money. Now, if we talk about VCs, so where is this money? You've heard the figure of 4% of capital going to female, women-led businesses. Look how long it has taken to get to 13% from 2004 to 2015. And we're only at 13%. There's a problem there. What about the percentage of money going to the deals by sector? So if we know that high tech and tech is the key sector, we need more women there. But actually, when you look at the statistics, where most of the VC money is going to women-led businesses, it's actually in retail, because that's where women tend to set up businesses, or in services. The little light blue line at the very bottom there is the software and pharma. So we need more women in STEM. We need more women in technology because they are the high growth industries. What about angels? Those private investors that we love. Well, actually, as I said to you, only 19.4% of business angels in the US are women. And they're investing in 20%. So 20% of women-led businesses are getting their money. We have a long way to go. 80% of opportunity. That's the way to look at it. Now, the rounds of money. Do you remember we said the magic number of $500,000? It's not imaginary. These are actual statistics from the Angel Resource Institute in the USA, who studied basically the market of angel investing in the US. And the median round size is 600K. So there's something to it. It's perception. So we still need to push it. And by the way, if you do a deal between business angels and VCs, the money goes up. Look, then we're getting interesting. So when they spread the risk, it makes it easier. So there is money to be had. Where else is the money? So the IFC, the International Finance Corporation, has just created a $600 million fund with Goldman Sachs to ensure that money goes to women-led businesses across the world. That's $600 million just going towards women-led businesses. Mainly in developing countries, but it's a good sign. The IFC have done something separate as well, which is they have created $165 million for women's bonds, so investing in women at a national level. Now, what about Astia? Some of you may have heard about Astia, which is a special non-profit that helps high-growth women entrepreneurs. Some of the ladies in this room are ladies going through the process to get money from Astia. But they are actually already have some angel investors that they have created. They're creating a new fund for women entrepreneurs. So it's not just grouping together angels. There's a new fund coming. I can't say how much yet. And We Connect. So these are different things. Coca-Cola, what's interesting is that some of the big corporates are seeing that women and women's economic empowerment is a big market for us to look at. So Coke, they actually have a program that's called 5 by 20. They want to help 5 million women entrepreneurs get into their supply chain by 2020. And Walmart are going to have $20 billion going towards women-led businesses in the supply chain. So that's very important. Two more things. Steve Jobs does one more thing, I do too. So let's not forget bootstrapping, okay? Bootstrapping is a very good way of funding your business. So don't kind of ignore it. You can have client revenues to get you going, and women tend to do that pretty well. And the crowdfunding. The Jobs Act in 2014 has opened up equity funding in the US, and it's going to become more and more popular. However, I do not want crowdfunding to be the money tool for women. It's tending to go towards that. No, Crowdfunding is fantastic if you want to do a product, you want to test something, but not for all your equity, please. I'll tell you why, because when you talk to the venture capitalists, I'm dying to hear the ladies and gentlemen are going to say, they don't like seeing a cap sheet, they don't like seeing they have a big chunk of equity that's going to thousands and thousands of people. That's not really manageable, don't like that. So keep it in mind in your funding strategy. Now, the last thing I would say is a request. There is a global petition to help include women's economic empowerment on the UN goals for moving forward on actually making a difference. Basically, the UN have these sustainable development goals saying we need more gender equality, but there's nothing about women and finance and access to money and bank accounts. So there is a global petition that has been started in the Power Shift conference in Oxford a couple of months ago. I would really love you to sign. We need 2,500 signatures. We're at around 1,000 in different forms. You'll see there's about 140 on that petition. Please sign, because that means that when the UN are looking at changing things at a government level, they will take the impact on finance for women into account. Thank you very much.